The Andrew Lake Podcast.
Now in collaboration with Acid Quote Tees.
Feel the rhythm now. All connected.
Here we go again with another episode of the Andrew Lake Podcast. We have got a big bundle of happiness, peace, and love coming up your way, sending you positive vibes, good vibes, happy vibes. Hoping you're having a beautiful morning. And of course, we've got our quote of the day. I quit drugs because my new addiction is you. This one is available, as always, on Etsy. Head on over to Etsy to get your acid quote of the day. And I would also like to give a shout out to the state of Iowa, USA, Des Moines, Des Moines. What a place to be. Iowa, birthplace of Slipknot. Slipknot! I'm feeling angry! Get some anger into you. Corey Taylor. Corey Taylor, baby. Corey Taylor must be one of the most cancerous people. I mean, how much cancer do you reckon he's caused in his relationships? I mean, he caused premature death in his own bandmates, right? I mean, that's just the rock star lifestyle. That's just it's not a very nice thing to go into. How much can I really say about it? Anyway, we forgive him for the people that he's hurt and the people that he has played a part in bringing about a demise thereof, simply because we like him singing a song. We like his voice. He does have an amazing voice. He is an amazing musician, that's for sure. I quit drugs because my new addiction is you. Do you know about sobriety? Do you know about straight edge life? Have you faced those things within you that are so much holding you back? Those vices, those clenched claws that dig deep into your back. And of course, you can sense, if you have any amount of intelligence, you can sense that there is something better to live by. You can sense that there is something better that you can move into. And sometimes that's a relationship. I mean, this cute saying, I quit drugs because my new addiction is you. It's like a combination between a pickup line or a romantic line and straight edge life or sober life. So that's why it's cute. That's why it's fun. And it's one of those shirts you could wear out, right? Like you could go out partying and it would be like, it shows that you're already further along the path. It shows that you're experienced, right? It sort of builds you up and makes you sort of into this cool sort of like many of these quotes, you got to have a certain amount of experience and confidence to wear them. And yet they are really just so cute. So yeah, and I mean, the addiction life, the obsessive personality, that's something that is I'm no stranger to it, to put it that way. And it's sort of a contradiction because to say you quit drugs because your new addiction is a relationship, it's like, well, that doesn't solve the problem of addiction. You've just changed one addiction for another. And in a sense, yes, I mean, I've definitely known the addictive, obsessive romantic complex within myself. And this comes from a number of things. Well, it comes from unmet needs, unfulfilled desires. It comes from childhood conditioning because, of course, as a child, what we really want is mummy's love. We want mummy to love us. And, of course, in most cases, that mummy's love is not satisfactory and we don't receive the love that we so deeply desire. And even in many cases, of course, that is not just unsatisfactory, but hurtful. And that is something that continues with us. And this desire to connect with someone romantically, to be intimate with someone romantically, this is something that, well, can be contended with in a number of different ways. And one of those ways in which we work with that, and which a way that I have known to work with that, is to create the fantasy. It's the fantasy world. If you can't have the real thing, you start building castles in the clouds. I'm certainly familiar with building castles in the clouds. I remember I was on a meditation retreat once, and I was thinking about this particular someone in such a way, and we did actually have an arrangement at that time. And I mean, I even knew it was not going to turn out to be anything. And I knew that there was sort of nothing to it. Well, almost nothing to it. I sort of was still holding on to a chance that there might be something to it. But in this meditation retreat, I actually had this fantasy overtake me of what I would do if I had my own wedding. So here's what we do. Oh man, can I even go into this? It's just like, I don't know if I can go into this. This is so twisted. This is absolutely bonkers. Okay. So all of the, oh man, this is so hard. I don't know if I can go into this in so much detail. It's like, yeah, I can't do it. That's so funny. That's so funny that I bring myself to talk about it and I can't even talk about it. Wow. And I mean, I guess that's because I know what actually ended up happening. I know that dream crashed and burned. And in fact, that was probably, like my wedding day, my plan for my wedding day, and what I had hoped for this relationship that I was in at that time. I mean, you could probably say that was one of the biggest dreams that collapsed for me. Like, that was the biggest castle in the cloud that I'd ever had. And it was psychedelic consciousness, right? Like, it was a fantasy that went along with visuals and emotions and colors and sounds. And when I was in that fantasy, it actually brought tears to my eyes, right? I would actually be bawling my eyes out. And you could say that this was exasperated because when the vision was occurring most acutely was when I was actually on a meditation retreat. So when you're deprived of certain things, or when you're going into your consciousness, such as you are on a meditation retreat, then these things become more acute, right? They become more intensified. So it was a culmination of factors. And the thing is that even at that point in my journey, even at that stage in my life, I knew that, like, I had already known about the bursting of the fantasy, the bursting of the obsession over someone, the breaking or the sort of unhealthiness of being addicted to the idea of a person. I had already experienced that. I had already had my bubbles burst. And I could even recognize it at the time, and yet it was still happening. It was still happening within me. So I think we learn to have addiction and relate to it in different ways as we become more conscious. And of course, it is important to change what it is that you are addicted to. Sure, it's much better to be addicted to a love romantic relationship than it is to be addicted to alcohol and hard drugs. That's really not the same thing. That's really different things. But of course, there are overlaps, right? There is the common denominator, which is addiction. It is obsession. And the thing that really helped me was, first of all, the pain and the hurt of actually encountering real reality, real situations, real experiences. And that's very hurtful because that completely destroys your fantasy. And yet the other side of that is the beauty of reality, the truth of reality, the goodness of a real relationship. And the relationships that I've had, the connections that I've had, have been, first of all, unlike anything I could have ever imagined. So they were nothing like anything I could have fantasized up. They were nothing like any idea or imagery I could have had. They were completely different, completely new. They were so much more, they were real, right? It was a real experience. And when you experience something real for yourself, you know it's real. You can't deny it. When it's right in front of your face, when it's in your bones, when it shakes you to your core, when it's in your very blood and your breath, you can't deny it. Whereas addiction and fantasy is not like that. Fantasy and addiction is, in fact, the opposite of that. Addiction is there because you actually don't get it. The reason you keep reaching for a drink is because you think, oh, this time I will get it. This time it will work. And of course, it is a remedy. It does give you something. It is an experience. No doubt, drinking alcohol is an experience. And it does bring that relief. It does bring that sense of feeling. It is something that you know in that moment, and yet it's so fleeting. It doesn't impress upon you. You don't remember it. You don't remember how it is to really have it. So I quit drugs because my new addiction is you. And it is a beautiful thing to meet someone and to realize, wow, this is someone that I should have my life together for. It would be worthwhile to start those positive projects, to eat healthy, to exercise more, to meditate more, and to realize that you're going to have to be in your empowered self to be with that person. And really, you should be, of course, doing all those things anyway. You should be doing those things for yourself. But doing them for someone else, well, that is at least one good reason to change, to grow, to learn how to come out of what it is that's stopping you from being something better. And really, addiction, coming out of addiction, is not so much about what it is that you have to give up, so much as about what it is that you have to gain. It is that thing that you have to feel and sense that can be better for you. And that is a mode of living. That is a day-to-day living. It's a presence that is behind every action you do throughout your day. It is a presence that is behind every thought you have throughout the day. It's like the background feeling, the ever-presentness. You might still sometimes get impatient, or you might get hungry, or you might get happy, you might laugh at a joke, you might be disappointed at something, you might be excited, you might be bored, you might still have your emotional ups and downs and your changes throughout the day, throughout the things that you do. But behind all that, there's something that hangs over you. And when you're grasped in the clutch of an addiction, you know that the thing that's hanging over you, it shouldn't be there. It's something that puts a sourness on everything. And when you come to give up your addiction, it's because you can sense, you can know that the removal of that thing that's coloring everything else in a negative way would mean that you actually have something that's coloring everything in a positive way. It's coloring your life with a feeling that, everything is going to be okay. There is a presence that I can rest into. There is a home that I have that I can access anytime I just stop and sense that it's still there. No matter where you are, no matter what you can see, no matter what you're thinking, no matter what you're feeling, if you just stop and sense what it is that I can rest into, something very beautiful, something very peaceful. We might even call it love. You could say that you can rest in love. And you know you can do this at any time because love is bigger than any thought. Love is even bigger than any emotion. And of course, there is also the emotional side of love. That's important. But love as an ever-present state is always bigger than any emotion. And love is more encompassing than any environment that you find yourself in. Love is more encompassing than any life circumstance, no matter how difficult, no matter how much it may seem permanent. Love is still there as a presence. Love is always bigger than this tiny stream of consciousness that you're in. So that's why I quit drugs. It's because I love you. Now, this quote of the day, my suggestion is, because we've got so many of them, what you can do is head on over to the Etsy store and just browse some of the quotes that we have. Just read some of them, right? You can just see them there. They're on the t-shirts. And there's a whole bunch of them. You just scroll through. You follow the link in the show notes and scroll through. Read some of them. And then here's how you work out what's right for you. You look at them, and when you read one, see what makes you laugh. See what makes you think. See what makes you tickle. Like, right? What tickles your being? What tickles your consciousness? And just have a read of some of them. And then if one jumps out at you, if two jumps out of you, then those are the two that you buy. Those are the two that you order. And some of them might take a little while to click, right? I know I'm sort of explaining them here. I know I sort of give my meaning and my sort of backstory to them, but you can have your own story to them, right? You can have your own meaning to them. So some of them you do have to, because they're a little bit twisted, they're a little bit eccentric, some of them, you've got to read them and then they won't make sense straight away. You'll have to think about them, or later on when you're driving your car, then it will make sense. You'll read this quote and then a few weeks later you will have it come to mind again and you go, oh, now I get it. So that's my suggestion for acid quote teas, which is what we're bringing you every episode. Every episode of the Andrew Lake podcast is one new acid quote, and there is just so much to explore in psychedelic consciousness, in meditation, in life, in personal transformation, in beauty, in love. There is just so much good stuff. And of course, because of this world, I have to wish you a very happy day and a very good times. Keep on smiling and just enjoy the moment, baby. I love saying this stuff. I love this music. I love these times. I love you. So have a beautiful day. See you next time. Bye-bye. Bye.